Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome in. Today I'm going to show you 4 different techniques to using watercolor pencils. So if you're up for that, stick around. Okay, y'all, I'm going to go over everything that I'm using here and what I'm doing. If you haven't seen, if you're not subscribed to Coloring with Claire or you don't follow her on Instagram, she's doing a thing she's calling Coloring Roulette for June. And she spun a wheel. She didn't spin a wheel. She had written down a bunch of little things and she just kind of drew things out of a hat, if you will. But she drew out fish, so that's the prompt. So your page has to have a fish on it. And my page, what I'm coloring in, is Garden of Dreams. There is the illustrator. I did do a flip through on this. If you're interested in seeing that, that'll be in a playlist probably called Flip Throughs on my channel. The second thing that she drew out was what medium you were going to use. And she accidentally drew out 2 different things. So you can either use pastel pencils or watercolor or watercolor pencils. So I am using the only watercolor pencils that I have, which are the Arteza 72 Watercolor Pencil Expert Set. I've had these since I think 2018, around there. Long time. I've not used them very much. I can't even open the thing. I was trying to be real slick opening that and it did not work. Let's get that mirrored thing out of the way. But this is what they look like. There's 3 different tiers of them. And you'll notice some are missing because those are the ones that I chose. But yeah, I have not used these very much. They still have a really strong smell to them. You know how when you get new colored pencils and they've been all boxed up inside the tin and you get that smell? These still have that. But that's what I'm using. So I've got my medium. And then the colors that she drew out, she drew 6 colors. She's got olive green, neon orange, dark cool gray, mahogany, coral, and blue green. So I'm keeping my pencils that I'm using in this lovely pencil case that I got from a magical elf. And I use these all the time. I got my little brush here. Really don't know why. You don't really need that for watercolors, I don't think. Got an eraser. That's just stuff I always have. But here's my colors. Let me bring this back over here. Olive green, I chose moss. That's the closest to olive green I had in there. Neon orange, I just chose orange. Actually, I chose pumpkin because it's pretty bright, as you can see. Colors interpretation, right? Dark cool gray. I think I pulled out 2 grays here. I've got pewter and charcoal that I'm using. And then mahogany, I am using garnet. For coral, I'm using coral. This is the only one that actually matches. Blue green, I'm using ocean blue. And then I just kind of put these in there because these are going to complement my orange. I'll be adding more colors to this, I'm sure. But I'm trying to stay as close to just these colors as possible, just to, see what's happening here with it. But the first technique I'm going to show you is pretty straightforward. You're going to need some kind of brush. I'm going to use a water brush. I've got just a yucky old sponge here to collect my water over on the side. And what do we want to do? Let me show you. We're going to use the orange. And this here is just me coloring directly on the paper and then activating it with water. So I'll show you that technique first. I'm going to actually punch you in just a little bit. There we go. All right. So we've got another wing of the duck over here. So I'm just going to color this in just like a regular pencil. And it had been a really long time since I had used these, and I was surprised that for some reason I thought they were going to feel like gritty or something like that on the paper, and they don't. They feel pretty much just like a regular pencil. And they blended pretty well because I did play around with them first before I put them down on this page. But I'm just coloring where there would be darker color, like where the shadow would be. I'm not pushing hard. Very light. Be nice to your pencils. I'll bring this up just a little bit. And that's the background. So we're going to use, you can use just a regular brush. I'm going to use this brush pen. And I'm just going to pick up that pigment and move it. I hope it's coming up. But I'm just going to move it up into the lighter parts. So we've got a dark part and a light part. Light and shadow here. And if you just want to stop there, you can stop there. We can add more color if we want to. Add a little bit more on there. It's probably a good idea if you're not using a coloring book that has watercolor paper on it to let things dry before you try to layer, because you can layer this, or you can layer watercolor pencils, I should say. But that's the first way to do it. Just color on the paper where you want your shadow, and then just activate it with your water brush or your paint brush. Very little water. Be careful with the paper. If it's not watercolor paper, you might find yourself seeing the page underneath if you're not careful. So use as little water as possible. Now this next technique that I'm going to show you, you need to have some kind of palette or like some sandpaper or something that has got some grit to it. Like the other side of this one, there's like little grooves. And this is just a little cutting board. Apparently Walmart sent me a long while ago. But it works real well with art stuff. So let me show you how I do it with this. We're going to color these leaves right here. And we're going to be using the green color. And the way you want to do this, if you've got a palette that's got some grooves in it, you just color onto the palette, and you're going to have some pigment there. But if you don't have a palette that does that, you can do the same thing. Let me start off clean here with like some sandpaper. And you can just rub your pencil against there, give it a little tap, and you've got all this good pigment here that we can pick up. So we're going to do the same thing. I am going to give a little squirt with this. I do want this a little wetter with this so I can pick it up. First, I'll pick it up from coloring directly just on the palette. You can pick it up on your brush and just paint it on. So you're using your pencils basically like paint, right? And here's our little dust that we created from our sandpaper. So we can pick that up. We can put that on there. Now, I'm not trying to be too precious with how I'm doing this. This is just for demonstration here, so don't judge the craziness of how this is going to look. I'll fix it later. But that is another way that you can use your watercolor pencils. You can basically use them just like you would paint and pick them up off of a palette. The third way that you can use a watercolor pencil is to just take it directly from the tip of the pencil. Instead of using the palette, you can just wet the tip of your pencil and the pigment is going to get onto your brush. And you can just use it like that. Pretty easy, right? Now, I am in no means any kind of expert with watercolor pencils. As I said earlier, I haven't used watercolor pencils in years. But there is a technique of how to use them. And especially, maybe not only if you're new, but especially if you're new. I'm just cleaning my brush over here. Especially if you're new, you may not know how to use them. So hopefully this video is helpful. And then I've got one more technique for you to try. This one is a little more dangerous than the other ones. We're going to use the blue color for this one. We're going to color a cloud. I'm going to make sure that my brush is clean, because I'm going to put water directly on the page. And I say that this is the dangerous way to do it because you're going to have a better chance of tearing up your paper by I'm not putting a lot on here, but you're still putting more water than normal. But I'm just going to take the pencil and I'm going to put the pigment down here where I put the water, and see how rich that color is. I'm going to take the brush again and pull it down again. And I've done this with all of the clouds here because I just like the way that it looks. And if the light is flickering on the video, I apologize. Apparently I have some sort of short in the wire of one of my lights, which is awesome since I just bought them in January. So yeah, there's that. But we're going to paint across here. You just put the water where you want your pigment to be. And because it's wet already, it just gives it a really, really rich color when it comes down. See how cool it is? I'm so glad that Claire did this challenge because I probably would have not pulled out these pencils. And I'm having all kinds of fun doing this. See, I'm bringing the color down just a little bit to give a little more oomph to that part right there. And you just keep going. I've used all of these techniques on this page. And it's getting me there. You know, is it perfect? Nope. But we're going to do another. This is what I did with the birds here. I put the water directly down on the paper. But it's fun to do something that you haven't done for a while or that you've never done. Just, you know, something different. Get you out of a rut. But see how beautiful the color comes down on that? Isn't that awesome? Let's do another one. So, are y'all doing Claire's challenge? Have you heard of it? I will leave her channel link down below. Actually, I'll try to leave her video of where she explains the rules and everything. I will use that. I will leave that down in the description below, so you can go check out Claire's video and what she is doing. And she did start a little group on Instagram for everybody to talk about the challenge, and that group is one hopping group, let me just tell you. So if you're on Instagram, go and check out Claire's Instagram. She's coloring with Claire over there too. And just let her know underneath the post that she talks about this challenge. Let her know you want to be part of the group, and she'll add you. And you can be part of the hopping watercolor page for June too, if you want to. That came out so weird. Okay, anyway, I hope that that you learned something from this, or I hope it was at least entertaining for you. But if you stuck around in the video for this long, I appreciate you very much. And I hope that you have a wonderful morning or afternoon or evening or wherever you are in the world when you're listening to this. And until next time, y'all. Bye.